The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Kiwi.
Well, I think we've all heard of TED.com. It's a place to go and be inspired. The byline for TED.com is ideas worth spreading. Now, the videos that are up there are inspirational speakers or speakers just talking about what they do, or new ideas for the future, innovation, that kind of thing. And they take place at events around America. But since TED first started, they have now spread around the world. And when it's outside America, it's called Tedx. There was one in Auckland last year, and there's another one coming up. And one of the organisers, Richard Hollingnum, is in the Kiwi studio with me this morning to talk about it. G'day there, Richard. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Good morning.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I explained TED all that well just then. So for those who the uninitiated who have never come across TED, what is it?
Well, TED basically is a gathering of people who are sharing their ideas, and in California it's held, which was the main one, which has been running for quite a few years now. They pretty much, it runs over 4.5 days, and they have 52 speakers. Pretty eclectic group, from scientists to politicians, not necessarily talking about their politics, but about politics of the world, to actors, to authors, to scientists, to technologists. And basically, as you quite rightly said, it's sharing ideas, and an incredibly inspirational, motivational place.
And the internet has allowed those ideas to be spread even further as people get inspired by these videos and then share them on to their friends. I think every week I get a new TED video sent to me on Facebook or on Twitter or something saying, hey, check this out, check out this speaker.
Yeah, it was about 4 years ago they decided to actually film them and then put them up as podcasts. And since then, pretty much TED has kind of really taken on and made it more accessible to everybody else. So everybody that actually goes to the conference and the main conferences, in theory, are actually funding the ability to share it with the rest of the world. So actually, when you're going, it's very expensive to go, but when you buy your ticket, in theory, you're donating that money to inspire everybody else.
Of course, yeah. So not all ideas, of course, come from America, and I think Americans have realised that and allowed TED to flourish elsewhere in the world as well. How did you bring it to New Zealand? How did this come about?
Well, the way that with the podcast, there was such an energy around it that everybody said, well, we would love to hold one as well. And with the podcasts, because of a Creative Commons license, you can actually start playing them, of course, in your own front room. You can kind of be watching them on the net. But what was happening was more and more people were using them either in schools, in the workplace as motivational or educational tools. Yeah. And then suddenly you're gathering more and more people around. So TED decided that what they would do was to allow certain people to actually run their own conferences. They're not TEDs, but they're TEDx's, so it's under a license. And what you can do is you can actually run your own conference. But if it's over 100 people, then you have to have approval from the from TED out of New York.
And the one last year was over 100?
Yeah, we had 350 people came.
Okay.
And this year we're just about to kick it on a little bit more than that.
So with that approval process, obviously would come rules and regulations around the stylising of the event itself? Yeah,
the really, really fascinating thing with TED is it's not just the speakers. The speakers are, without a doubt, a key part of it. But actually it's the attendees and the people you get to meet when you're there. And actually, I reckon that's the coolest bit. Yeah. Because you suddenly meet people that are coming from diverse occupations, diverse parts of the country, and they're kind of all coming together, and they're all coming with that kind of common bond of they're interested people and they're interesting people. And quite frankly, the buzz and the energy in the building is just... it's fantastic.
What about the way it looks? Because every TED video I've seen, no matter where it comes from in the world, there's a similar aesthetic to it. You know, there's the visuals kind of look the same. The lighting is a certain way, and obviously the TED logo is ever present as well. So obviously that must be part of the planning process of making this event work.
I think especially with the conferences that are over 100 people, what TED really wants you to do is to keep the essence of TED. Yeah. And actually, when you look at the stages are incredibly clean. They're not cluttered. They're quite basic and quite simple. And in fact, what's interesting about the whole sort of TED thing is it's not slick and American polished, even the TED that you go to in California. What's lovely about it is actually it's everybody kind of sort of switching the rest of the world off for a couple of days and just sitting and sharing. And I think that comes through in the whole way that it's put together. So even the supporters and sponsors and people that come together pick up on that and get that.
We have this basic human need for this, don't we? Because for so many years we've been passive, by and large, passive users of of information, whether it be sitting in front of the TV and stuff, and we've forgotten that ability to go into, say, a forum like the Romans did and share ideas and talk about new ideas and really push people's comfort levels, I suppose, with how they see the world.
Yeah, one of the things that I was completely blown away with, and maybe I was like a lot of people, you kind of forget, but actually the ability to stop and listen. And we just don't do that. And the only time that we probably do stop and listen is either at school or, say, a church or where there are some other public figures. But pretty much we don't stop and listen. Everything's in sound bites.
Yeah.
And so this gives you the opportunity to spend, say, 8 hours on Sunday, the 26th of September, to just stop and listen. Yeah. And I think that becomes a really quite a powerful environment to be around.
Tell us about the event last year and what's available from that event last year and how you can consume some of it now. Well,
if you go onto tedxauckland.co.nz, you'll notice that there's Relive the 2009 section up there. And if you go on there, then every single speaker, there is a film of their presentation. And it's all available via YouTube, and in fact, if you go onto the sort of Tedx main site, our talks are up there as well.
Filter through to there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, now looking forward to this year's event. It's happening on the 26th of September 2010. Yesterday, you confirmed some of who the speakers are this year.
Yeah, no, I'm really, really excited by this, because where sort of TED is about ideas worth sharing, Tedx Auckland is about ideas worth sharing and ideas worth doing.
Okay.
And because I think that what everybody found last year when we went there was this unbelievable energy of the people there.
Yeah.
But what we didn't do was we didn't actually carry that energy on. So
that's the hard thing, isn't it? I mean, isn't that the deal with all kind of conferences or motivational times, is that you feel you feel. To use Robbins's speak, you feel juiced up at the time, but it's hard to keep that going.
And so we made a little bit of a mistake, to be perfectly honest, because we didn't carry that on. So what we've done is we've listened to the TEDx community, and we've listened to the wider community, and we've taken that on board. So a lot of the people that we brought on this year and curating this is aimed in looking at it around that. So, I mean, we've got, as an example, sort of two people. So Air New Zealand have very, very kindly brought and helping us bring Dr. Priv Bradu back down to New Zealand. Now, this lady's a neuroscientist. She's a business person, and she's kind of bridged the gap between science and business. Yeah. And this is one very, very special lady that when you actually she's so infectious, but she's actually somebody who's kind of living the do. Right. And on the back of that, what we're doing is that there's a new website that's been created called If We Ran the World. And we are using that as our platform this year to actually start turning intentions into action.
And that's Cindy Gallup's project.
Yeah, there's two people actually who are going to be talking in that section. There's going to be Cindy Gallup from New York, and there's also Tim Gregory, who's actually utilising and using that particular program or that particular platform to actually make some fantastic things happen here in Auckland.
Wow.
So it's really cool. So we're actually going to show that actually here it is, here's an action tool, and actually here it is in action here, and then we're going to be using that with the TEDx Auckland community to actually take some initiatives on and start driving that next year.
Great, and then people will be able to follow that process, I'd imagine, through the TED website.
Not only follow that process, but one would hope that they actually be part of that process.
Yeah,
and,
of course.
And so the idea is to turn human good intention and join that with corporate good intention to make some really important stuff happen.
Now, last year it was invitation sort of only, or you had to apply to attend. What's the story this year?
Yeah, we did that last year because very much last year was kind of seeding. As much as a lot of people know about TED today, a year ago it was a lot harder. There weren't, and I think there were a core group of people that actually knew what TED was about, but a wider group not so much. But that's grown now. And so what we did is we set it up, pretty much it was totally a free event, and we couldn't have done that without some support and help from the people who kind of kicked it off. Very much a seed event. But all the TEDx curators from around the world went back to TED and said, guys, we need some help here because we do need to actually cover our costs. So under the initial license agreement, it was encouraged that it was free. Yeah. But everybody's come back and said, look, we're all doing this for nothing, so can we get some help? So anyone that actually applies to come, you don't need to apply like we did last year. So you buy tickets via ticketek.co.nz, and it's $100 for the day.
Yeah.
So that's 8 hours for $100, which, well, I'm not very good at maths, but that's about $12.50 an hour. And that's pretty good value, I'd say.
And it might change your life.
Totally. Well, definitely make you look at life in a different way.
Yeah. And I'm sure this event is going to perhaps evolve some more between now and then as well. So I'd love to catch up with any further developments. In the meantime, tedxauckland.co.nz as we head and find out about tickets and who is speaking, and also to relive the 2009 event. And maybe through the website, can you order this? Because you've brought in this book of the last year's event. Is there any way of ordering that or getting hold of it?
Yeah, in fact, there'll be a link up there today, and people can go on and buy that. And and there'll be another one put out for this year's event as well.
What a fabulous publication. Go and check it all out. Thanks, Richard, for coming in and telling us all about TEDx Auckland. We'll catch up again soon.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.